This is your evening news update for Tuesday, November 2. A warm welcome to you. Perpetrators at the center of recent attacks against healthcare workers at the Queen Elizabeth Hospital will soon face the law courts. Word of this from the hospital's Director of Nursing Services, Henderson Pinder, at a press briefing today at Harrison's Point. Pinder made clear the hospital will protect its workers and violence in any form will not be tolerated.
But when persons deliberately leave their homes to come to cause harm to our medical facility, to our staff at the medical facilities, we are not going to condone those. And they will be prosecuted. The recent cases that we've had, they have been prosecuted, and very soon you should see the results of that in the papers. And I want this as a message to go out. We will not tolerate violence against our staff in any form.
Mr. Pinder, when you say the papers, are you saying court action?
Yes, you will see it in the court actions.
Can you give how many persons or how many cases would you have had over the past 3 months or so?
I'm aware of 2 cases that we've that are being prosecuted, and we will look to see what the results of those will be.
He was speaking as he welcomed a group of nurses from the United States that have volunteered to care for COVID-19 patients. Pinder added that the hospital has implemented a number of measures to ensure employees are safe.
We've always maintained a posture and a policy of no violence against our staff, zero tolerance to violence against our staff. However, sometimes, because we had some gaps in our system, we've sought to close those gaps with the introduction of additional security personnel and also measures to control the flow of patients and the amount of patients which can predispose to violence. So we're also making every effort to make sure that patient care is delivered timely so that persons do not get agitated and such like.
In other news this Tuesday, Minister in the Ministry of Finance, Ryan Strawn, is reporting a strong take-up of the Barbados Optional Savings Scheme bonds by public servants, pensioners and private companies just over a year after the BOSS was introduced. Speaking in Parliament today as he wrapped up debate on the Debt Settlement Arrears Bill, Strawn provided an update on the numbers, saying the response was a sign of the public's confidence in the government.
Just about 18 million, sir, of those bonds are still owned by government employees. 18 million, sir. For those persons who chose to sell their bonds, sir, I can say to you that just about 16 million, sir, are currently owned or bought, sir, by credit unions. Pensioners, sir, as in individual pensioners, just about 8 million of those bonds have been bought by pensioners, sir, off of public servants. Pension schemes, sir, about 8.2 million have been bought by pension schemes. So if you combine both pension schemes and pensioners, sir, you recognize that just about 16 million, north of 16 million of bonds were bought by the pension sector. The next largest component, sir, of ownership is about 6 million, sir, by individuals, persons who are not pensioners, just average Barbadians, sir, who bought just about 6 million of the bonds off of public servants, sir, between July 2020 and September 2021, sir. And thereafter, sir, companies and insurance companies, sir, just about 3 million, and regular companies, sir, and trust companies, 2 million.
On day 2 of COP26, Prime Minister Mottley joined U.S. President Joe Biden and the President of the European Commission on the margins of the summit to discuss how infrastructure development will be an integral part of the fight against climate change. Early in the day, Mottley again made another plea for the world's big countries to address the climate crisis before it's too late. In an interview with CNN's Christiane Amanpour, she said Barbados is already being impacted by the climate crisis despite its small carbon footprint.
To begin with, we have a serious problem with water. We have effectively drought-like conditions for the better part of the last few years, where almost half of the island is at risk of getting adequate water. Secondly, we have an impact with respect to our coral reefs. A lot of the marine life that we saw as children are no longer there. Thirdly, we have the possibility of, and we're seeing it already, of saltwater intrusion into some of our aquifers, making the water situation more dire. And then we have the sargassum seaweed as well on the east coast and of most of our countries, from the very south in the region to the Gulf of Mexico. And this affects people who have restaurants or hotels or whatever, because the smell is toxic.
And that's because of the
That's because of the climate, that's right. And
of
then,
the water.
And you have not heard me say floods or hurricanes. And those are the other ones as well. This year, Barbados had its first hurricane in 66 years. And before that, we had a freak storm for 90 minutes that had 46,000 lightning strikes in 90 minutes.
She added that the problem was not urgent for larger countries not being affected by the changing climate.
I think people are getting there. The problem is that those who need to make the decisions are kicking the can down the road, and they believe that they can because they're not seeing us. They see themselves. And for them, they don't reach that period of peril probably for another 15, 20 years. I mean, you heard this morning 4 degrees to Shanghai and Miami to be eradicated. Well, it's 1.5 and 2 for us. So there are a lot of us that are going to be affected before Shanghai and Miami.
4 persons, 2 men and 2 women, are the latest persons to die from COVID-19. 2 Barbadians, an 88-year-old woman and a 94-year-old man, passed away today at the Harrison's Point and Blackman Gollop isolation facilities, respectively. She was vaccinated while he was unvaccinated. On Monday, a 70-year-old Haitian woman passed away at the Harrison's Point facility, and a 92-year-old Barbadian man died at the Queen's College Isolation Center. COVID-related deaths now stand at 160. Meanwhile, new COVID infections rose to 436 cases on Monday. There were 815 people in isolation facilities and 5,885 persons in home isolation.
There's regional and international news after this short break.
Hi, my name is Michelle Thompson. I'm a visually impaired person. I am also a member of the National United Society of the Blind of Barbados. I am vaccinated. I took the vaccination due to the fact that I am diabetic, I'm asthmatic, and I also have high blood pressure. I had no side effects. Everything went calm and smooth, as my doctor said it would go. Please, people, go ahead and do the right thing.
Let's roll up our sleeves and get back to living.
In Jamaica, new research from the Northern Caribbean University revealed that more than 500 people between the ages of 18 to 44 were sexually assaulted during COVID-19 lockdown and stay-at-home orders. Herman Green of Television Jamaica is tracking the story.
Lead researcher at the Northern Caribbean University, Paul Bourne, says 4 in every 10 persons that were interviewed had been assaulted.
But let's go further, and that 84% of them, of those who were sexually assaulted, indicated that it was done by an individual that they know, including father, brother, cousin, pastor, teacher, community members.
Former Deputy Commissioner of Police, Novlet Grant, says she's not surprised that sexual assault ranked high among the negatives of stay-at-home orders. She pointed to a similar report from the United Nations in 2018, which showed that homes were deemed the most dangerous place for women worldwide.
Jamaica also falls within the Caribbean, where the top 10 recorded rape rate is found in the world, while the worldwide average is 15 per 100,000 for rape worldwide. Jamaica has a 51 per 100,000 rape. So it's not surprising.
Mr. Bourne says the majority of the incidents happened either at home or in a vehicle.
Further afield, dozens of countries today join a United States and European Union pledge to cut emissions of methane, the most potent greenhouse gas, by 30% this decade, in the most significant climate commitment so far at COP26. The initiative, which experts say could have a powerful short-term impact on global heating, followed an early announcement in which more than 100 nations agreed to end deforestation by 2030.
So a coalition of states led by the United States is about to endorse a landmark agreement on methane emissions. The process was set in motion by the U.S. and the EU, but now more than 80 countries have joined to reduce methane emissions by 30% by 2030. And in many ways, CO2 emissions had stolen the limelight of methane emissions for several years, but actually methane is the second most important greenhouse gas after carbon dioxide, and it's 28 times more potent than carbon dioxide. And this is why methane emissions are so important, and it's important to tackle this problem now. That being said, even though it's a very powerful gas, it also degrades very quickly in the atmosphere, and that means that this measure could have an immediate cooling effect on the planet. And this could be one of the most important steps taken by governments in order to stay within the 1.5 limit of warming, and it could contribute to lowering temperatures by 0.2 degrees. And it doesn't sound like a lot, but we know that every 10th of degree matters. Keeping in mind, however, that China, Russia, and India have not yet gotten on board with this deal. Brazil, however, could sign it later today. But it's important to remember that 9 of the 20 largest methane emitters in the world, including the US, the EU, Nigeria, and others, have already signed the agreement.
That's news, but for the very latest, visit our website at www.barbadostoday.bb. You can also subscribe to our e-paper, email updates, or like us on Facebook, and sign up for our breaking news alerts via WhatsApp. We're also on Izumi Media and bus terminals, as well as Screenplay at supermarkets and gas stations near you. You can also hear us on Mix 96.9 FM and Capital Media HD 99.3 FM.